Chuck is hoping to join us, though. Chuck is hoping to join us.
No, just called and said no.
Okay. All right. Good evening. Welcome to the Littleton Board of Selectmen meeting, Monday, August 21st, 2017. I will read the proposed agenda, and then we'll get on with the meeting. At 6:30, we will organize, say the Pledge of Allegiance, read the mail. 6:40, we have various reports from town departments, the treasurer relative to bond anticipation notes, Park and Recreation Department relative to an acceptance of a donation, Highway Department, a couple of issues, pavement preservation contract award, and Mass DOT Littleton Common restriping plans. At 7:10, we'll have public input and members updates. And 7:20, we will do Selectmen fiscal year 2018 goal updates. At 7:40, we will go through the various articles so far identified for a special town meeting to be called on Monday, October 30, 2017, at 8:20 or earlier. We will have some updates from the town administrator and assistant town administrator relative to acquiring a parcel for Mill Pond restoration, also the Community Compact Cabinet Program, and Mart Crosstown Connect First Mile. And at 8:30 or earlier, minutes approval. Our chairman, Chuck DeCoste, is unable to join us tonight and sends his regrets. So with that, Mr. Knox, will you lead us in pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Keith, will you lead us through the mail?
Sure, Mr. Chair, just a few items. We have received a copy of a letter from the Mass DEP. It went to all those communities who are subject to the so-called MS4 stormwater permit. We'll have further update on this during Selectmen's goals, but we did receive a notice from DEP, which now coincides with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's delay of 1 year for the new MS4 stormwater permit. That affects Littleton to a degree because we are among the communities that were issued the old permit in 2003, so there's still things that we need to do. Not as much as we were planning on doing, but there are still things we need to do, which we can go over. Next item, I wanted to include information about the MassDOT Moving Together Conference. It's going to be in Boston on September 28th, and there's a number of workshops and panel discussions on that, and I was invited by MassDOT to be on their panel on complete streets, municipal successes and challenges. So I'm happy to go and continue to share my thoughts and opinions about how we could be working together, better together on it, and I appreciate the invitation. Next, the Mass Municipal Association has announced a series of legislative breakfast meetings for this fall. They're always on a Friday morning. The one that's closest to us will be in Stowe on Friday morning, September 22nd at 8 a.m. There are usually some number of state legislators in attendance, along with MMA staff going through the topics that are on the Mass Municipal Association's agenda. And lastly, I included in here a flyer that we've received from the Park and Recreation Department about a family campout activity at Bay Park, September 2nd. And we've also got our Park and Rec director here with us tonight, who's going to talk about the request that her commission has made. But I know she wanted to put in a plug for other. You've got another meeting that's coming up tomorrow night.
Yeah. Do you want me to come?
Sure.
All right.
Why are you lumping?
I lost the toenail. We'll keep it at that.
We all
I know, everyone.
We all went like this one.
It's not good, don't do it. So we also, tomorrow night in the same room at 7 o'clock, have the bathhouse public meeting. So this is a forum for the public to be able to come to kind of talk about ideas and what they would like. Want to be very clear, this is not like a finished plan. This is only for input so that we can create a design. So nothing has been set in stone. This is just a public meetings to be able to get some feedback from the community. So tomorrow night, 103, 7
And you had a
o'clock.
meeting with the abutters last week.
We did. We met with the abutters directly around the beach last week. Yep.
Thank you.
Might as well hold that seat,
I'll
because
stay,
you're up
yeah.
very, very shortly when you're getting ready. Anything else, Keith? Okay. Town departments, town treasurer. Steve?
We are rolling over $1 million worth of road bonds. Be issued on September 1st, and we sold this $1 million to Century Bank at 1.25%. Mature next August 31st. It's a little bit less than the one we just issued last week or the week before, the 300,000. That was at 1.3%. This is a little bit more dollars, so it came in a little less. And this should be it for a while until we issue the bonds.
How does that match up with your expectations on the percentages? Are we kind of expecting they might start ticking down a little bit?
But this only went down because it's a little bit more money.
More money, okay, but what's the, okay, we're not gonna be doing any more bonding for a while anyway, right?
We're going to be issuing the alumni bond in March. So that'll be a 10-year bond, so we'll see what probably should be 3% or so.
Really? Okay.
Steve, your note here says next August, when these mature, we'll need to do a minimum pay down of $26,000. Is that specific to this bond anticipation note, or is that
Yes, because
standard?
you have to start paying it down once you keep rolling it over, and this is
Okay.
the fourth year we're
Okay.
rolling this over. So
Standard
delayed
note.
paying it down to put the money towards paying some of the alumni debt down first, so before we issued it. We had a couple $100,000 set, and that was used.
Okay. Paying down against something that'll come in at a higher interest rate, so.
Okay, anything else worth noting here, or are you just looking for a vote from us?
Looking for a vote and your signature.
All right, so, unless there's any other questions?
Will the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the sale of a $1 million bond anticipation note for the town roads needs authorized May 5th, 2014, special town meeting? Article 16, under the November 14th, 2012 special town meeting, Article 6, with $500,000 issued against each vote dated September 1st, 2017, and payable August 31st, 2018 to Century Bank at par and interest costs of 1.25%.
Second.
The motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion?
No.
If not, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
All right.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Great.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve.
Okay. Park and Recreation, accept donation.
Yes, please. So we had an individual contact us. They are downsizing their home, and they have 2 televisions that they would like to donate to the Parks and Rec program. One is a flat screen TV, which we would use for technological purposes in our conference room. And then the TV that we have currently in our teen programming area was last purchased in 1995. So this would update that with a 2006 TV. So that's it, it's just 2 TVs. Yeah.
And they wish to remain anonymous. I'm sure they've been thanked.
Yeah.
And the commission did vote at its
They-
meeting last week to request that the board's approval under your policy to accept the gifts.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? If not,
Move the Board of Selectmen vote in accordance with its policy and solicitation and acceptance of monetary and non-monetary gifts for public purpose to approve the Park and Recreation Commission's acceptance of an donation of 2 television sets valued at a total of $2,000.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the ayes have it. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Good luck with
Yep.
the report.
I know. I'll get there.
Okay. Chris, looks like we're gonna get you on the trail back to Greenfield early tonight.
Pretty quick, I think.
Okay, you've got 2 items here. First is the pavement preservation contract award, and then also the ongoing saga of the restriping of Littleton Commons. So, why don't you walk us through the first item?
Yeah, so we put out a bid for the pavement preservation part of the road plan that we got approved back, I believe it was in May or June. It's gonna include crack sealing, fog sealing, and microsurfacing. So we put the bid out, we had 4 or 5 companies take the bid. Only one actually submitted a bid. It was Seal Coating Inc. for the total of about $330,000, which actually is about $100,000 less than what I had estimated, so that's a fun news.
And this is for that list of roads that were in the plan.
Correct.
There's a list of roads in your packets. I
No,
put-
no change there from what we discussed a couple months ago? No.
No change.
And I put the map up of those roads illustrated.
Excuse me, there is actually one change. We've added 2 more roads to it, and we still stay within budget, because it makes sense. They're up off of Gristmill, Drover Lane and Old Farm Road, I think they're called. They're the cul-de-sacs up there. It completes that whole neighborhood.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's no real increase to the cost of the project, because we
And
saved so
overall,
much.
it looks like there's about 12, 15 miles worth of road?
Yeah, it'll be a little bit, let's see, yes. You have to take out the mill and overlay, because we're not doing that yet. So it's gonna be about 13 miles of roads
Nice.
currently, so. And we're hoping to start with your vote tonight. We'll get the notice to proceed out, so then we're hoping we can start this in the next week or 2 to have it all wrapped up prior to October. So,
Board members, any questions or anything further on that one, Chris?
nope, that's it.
Okay.
Unless you have any questions.
Sure. Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to award and authorize execution of a pavement preservation contract for microsurfacing, fog sealing, and crack sealing with Seal Coating Inc. of Braintree, Mass. At its sole bid of $336,194.80, with execution of said contract subject to receipt of performance and payment bonds and certificates of insurance.
Second?
Okay, motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, the ayes have it. All right, Carmen, I'll let you make your presentation, Chris, but for purpose of the board's discussion, Mr. Knox has been taking the lead on it for us, so if you have any comment, Joe, dive in at any
I'll
point.
let Chris do it. It was great. We were able to go to Chris's office, and he had everything set up right there so he could show different things and how it would be laid out and change things around, so it made it a lot easier. A lot of the things he's introduced in here are fantastic. I'll let him talk about it, but there's some, the crosswalk is one of the biggest things I think is important, because the way he's done it, it makes it safe, and I'll let you take over from there, because you did all the work on it.
Okay. Yeah, so obviously, we know this is kind of a, an issue here, the way the state relined it. So what I did is, I kind of took all of the opinions we've heard, trying to keep a dedicated turning lane, crosswalk issues, pedestrian issues. So what we did here is, as you can see, I shifted the crosswalk, I guess if we're facing north, south, west, away from the intersection slightly, and by doing that, I'm able to actually add a rescue island. So it's a raised granite curb island. You can do stamped concrete in it to kind of decorate it up.
Similar to what we have by the playground, correct?
Very similar to that, yes. Almost identical to that. And what I did is, against the church side of the road, I bumped out with granite curbing to kind of funnel the traffic into 2 dedicated lanes, a straight lane and a turning lane. By doing that, we went from a 72-foot crosswalk to actually a 50-foot crosswalk, and also adding that rescue island. So now you have a substantially smaller road to cross, much safer, and you have the ability to, if somebody does come through there really fast, you didn't notice them, you have that island as protection. We've maintained a 50-foot radius on the turn lane to allow tractor-trailer trucks to make the maneuver onto Goldsmith without entering the onbound, I guess, oncoming traffic lane, so that way we don't have any traffic conflicts there. You can see at the point of the common, I've restriped the little safety, the gore marks, to kind of afford a little bit of protection to the bike lane there, so that way cars don't tend to want to go straight, they will stay in their dedicated lane.
I'm sorry, Chris, I didn't follow that. Could you explain that again?
Yeah, so if you can see at the point of the common there,
Right here, right?
yeah, right there. What I did is I've extended the gore marks up to meet the white line, and what that's gonna do, the way it was laid out before, it would be if you were coming up the turn lane, didn't really know it was a turn lane, you could almost naturally go straight there.
Sure.
So, just by putting those out, they're not gonna afford a lot of protection, but it's just a visual break to say, kind of keep you in your lane a little bit more.
Okay, good. I missed that subtlety. Good.
Yeah. So we removed the hash marks and the gore lines on Stevens Street at the corner of Goldsmith. We removed those. We adjusted the yellow marks, the center line, I guess, at King Street to match back to existing. Those were actually bumped out about 5 feet, so I brought those back to the existing location of the original street. And then over at Stevens, at Great Road, that weird bump out that nobody really understood, we request to have them remove that as well. I didn't see any benefit to having that there, so. I think that's basically
For that portion, and then there was the
The additional crosswalk?
crosswalk.
Yeah, oh, yeah, and the crosswalk up, so what we did is originally we requested it closer to Robinson Road. The
Here's
state,
the locus.
yeah, so the state came back to us and said it was too close to Robinson Road. There was nowhere for a landing piece on the north side of Great Road. And because of the orientation to the intersection at King Street and Great Road, the traffic on Great Road would actually queue up, so they didn't want to put one there. So came up with the idea of requesting a crosswalk again, but shifting it up closer to Donellan, so up by the, is it Northern Bank and Trust, I believe it's called. So there's more than enough room for them to put a landing pad on the north side of the road, and it keeps us farther away from the intersection. I think it's a good request. I don't believe the traffic queues up that far, so we can ask. Worst they say is no, right? So.
2 points I would make, and I was happy to participate in the meeting that you guys had organized last week. 2 things I think are important improvements in the plan, restoring the number of parking spaces in the common area, which at one point, we may have lost some of that. And then also the turn lane from King Street left onto Great Road to 495, allowing that to be longer, reflecting the usage it gets right now. And I'm glad you were able to accommodate both of those without materially changing the plan. And I think it's good work done. Well, one piece of input I got subsequent to that meeting, and I'm not sure how to address it, is I did have to have a conversation with a prominent woman who's long time been active in the Baptist Church, who said politely that, to her knowledge, they hadn't been approached at all on this, and a lot of the change in activity is right in front of them. So I wonder if there's a way that maybe we can get this plan in front of them and seek a little input, even though we're...
I made sure that all of the work didn't interfere with their driveway, so none of their driveway entrances will actually be any smaller.
I'm not sure they have a specific issue, it's just that so much is changing there, I think they would appreciate.
They'd like to know.
Yeah,
Sure.
and they do have a new, my understanding is a new reverend just come on board, so she may not be the person to be up to date on that, so perhaps Keith, you can identify somebody.
Dr. Charlie.
It was Carolyn is who I talked to.
Yeah, okay.
One of the two.
Okay.
It actually gives them more land out front.
Sure.
It does, yeah.
I think they just want somebody to come talk to them, that's all.
Be happy to do that.
Joe, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I think the process went fine. Once again, working with Chris, no way he was able to change things around. It was move things around, oh, that could be here, that can be there, and you can see it visually as it's me trying to draw something out that didn't.
Look fine to me, Joe. Appreciate your leadership in this issue, too. And I think a lot of us were hearing about it from people in the community. It's amazing how quick the state laid it out on their terms. Do you have any idea how quick they're going to change it if...
No idea.
No idea.
think that-
And we really don't even 100% know that they're gonna accept
Yeah, we don't
this.
know that, we will
This is
engage-
our proposal.
Yeah, this is our
Right,
proposal.
I understand.
We will engage them, but I somehow think that they're looking for a chance to, redeem themselves.
So it wasn't the message they were looking for us to make a proposal that they...
Yes, they invited us to make a proposal, and then we will work with them on it.
Yeah.
And so, part of I tried to put Chris's proposal in the form of words, and in this proposed motion, and actually, as I was going over it over the weekend, I made an edit to what's printed, just so that on the third bullet, it says removal of striping at Stevens Street intersections, plural, with Goldsmith and Great Road.
So
that
whoever
it's
makes
at
the
both.
motion, you want them to read
Yeah,
off of
to
there?
make, yeah, so
All
the
right.
rest of it's, is unchanged, but as I was looking at the maps and putting the PowerPoint together and seeing how the motion went, that's, I made that edit, so.
Public safety departments, I know you guys have had a chance to review this too.
We have
Chief?
work, Chris, I'm looking forward to, I think the the straight ahead and turn lane for Stevens and Goldsmith Street, showing the right turn arrow will at some point help the people, help the people coming on Goldsmith Street, because right now, about 60% of the people, 60 to 70% of the people put on blinkers and they're just going down Stevens Street. Once that straight ahead and right turn lane gets there, they'll know they don't have to use their blinker if they're going straight down Stevens, and that will actually help the people on Goldsmith Street, not play, as we've been joking, Frogger as much.
Right.
And I'm quite upset that the highway director made fun of my drawing.
I didn't make fun of it. They just said it.
We
Just
enjoyed
saying.
it. We enjoyed
Yes,
it.
no, I think it's,
We
I think the
enjoyed
redesign.
it, so it's what.
Total agreement.
All right, any other questions, comments from board members? Chase?
One question, one comment. One is requesting that MassDOT conduct a public information meeting. What are we envisioning with that?
The way, it is their standard operating practice for MassDOT to hold such a meeting. They've held, I recall that they had one for the improvements to the Bruce Street Air Road, Willow intersection. And while it was not well attended, plenty of town officials were there, it's the opportunity that they go through. It's the procedure they go through to get input on a proposal before they make it. And so where the acting director of District 3 was apologetic that they hadn't done that before, I think it's a good opportunity to engage now, especially if they're not inclined to just swallow this and say, okay, because you asked for it, you can have it in this form. I actually think that it would be to our advantage to hear from people who would be affected by it and who would think it's a good thing, and that we should have that opportunity. Plus, it gives us a focus to involve our state legislators, who, while we let them know what's going on, they were very involved in the Willow Air Road, Bruce Street work. And it would give them an opportunity to engage on this as well, which I think we ought to take advantage of. But it would also mean it's their show, it's MassDOT's show,
Sure,
it's MassDOT's project. Any implementation would be done with MassDOT's resources, so.
I mean, to the extent that we can forecast the timeline on that, do we have any idea how long they might take to schedule something like that?
No idea. It could be.
Within a month.
Okay.
I'm thinking it's not unreasonable to think a month.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Then again, they might kind of blow it off and say, we'll get to it next year. That's completely up.
I think
to the
that-
air.
Right, I understand, we have no.
The tone and the voice of the director, the acting director, I would say that they are anxious to address this and.
All it is
Get
is
it behind
paint, right? I mean, essentially, it's not a big
Well,
construction
it's
project.
gonna be,
Well,
it's gonna
granite curbing,
it's gonna be
so it
paint
is
and.
I mean, we have the
granite
road
curbing,
cones, so we're
but
kind of holding it.
it's paint plus,
Yeah.
and so.
Chief?
We'll also keep the pressure on, because they told us they wouldn't restripe they wouldn't restripe in front of police station with the new turn lanes and everything until they're doing that. So
Okay.
I'll also be keeping the pressure on because I don't want to lose another cruiser
Yeah.
at my station or lose my deputy again.
Great.
My second comment was that I think when this is wrapped up, it might go a distance to send a letter from the board to MassDOT expressing our appreciation
Sure.
for them working with us. I don't want the perception to be that we're challenging and nitpicky and things.
No, in fact, I had to take a deep breath when I first got the notice from the acting director that his response was that we should figure out what the solution is. And I took a long pause at that and said, well, he's right, because we know there's more local knowledge to this situation than having his people come shuttle back and forth, partial information, maybe they got it, maybe they didn't.
Just shocking to have that kind of common sense come out in a meeting.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that-
and that's
so
something
that's-
that I would like to express
right.
appreciation for. Thank you.
Right,
for
because
giving
he
us-
was absolutely, Barry Lorian was absolutely not backing, taking a step back from MassDOT being involved in it. They were saying, we need to take more direction and from the town. The town has a specific idea, please tell us that, so we can focus more on that, so. But District 3 has been very, very good to us in recent years, when we've asked for something. They've come through. So this is another opportunity for them to impress us. So.
Right, well, and I think Chase's point is well taken. It's another opportunity for us to thank them, too,
Yes.
so why not? And looking out in the audience, seeing Mike Zeldin here, Master Plan Implementation Committee, all of this is, I think it's worth noting that all of this is for the here and now, but it doesn't preclude anything that may change in the common in the future, if we have big plans that require
No, this
changes.
is, I'll call it an interim fix for a much larger problem. It solves the immediate problem, but not addressing everything.
Thank you. Good. Anything else, board members? All right, who's got the eyes to read this?
I'll move that the Board of Selectmen votes to submit to MassDOT District 3 plans prepared by Littleton's Director of Public Works for improvements to Littleton Common, including a dedicated right turn lane on King Street at its intersection with Goldsmith and Stevens, relocation of the crosswalk opposite of the Baptist Church, removal of striping at Stevens Street intersections with Goldsmith Street and Gray Road, and establishment of a crosswalk on Gray Road between Littleton Common and Acton Toyota. And further to request that MassDOT District 3 conduct a public information meeting in Littleton on such plans, and further to invite participation from the town and state legislative delegation.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Thanks, Chris.
Do you want to, this is your baby?
You'll stay for an
Yeah.
update on the waste.
Do you want to do it right now, or do
stormwater.
you want to push it and wait?
Did you,
We're going to be roaring through the remainder of this.
yeah, that there had been a request from Chase through Chuck to get an update from Chris
Mhm.
on the MS4
by
stormwater.
all-
One of my goals was MS4, and Chris and I actually met this morning to go through, I've got 4 or 5 goals that touch on things like Chris.
If there's any update you guys want to give right now,
Well,
now's a
and
good
then
time.
MS4, I think, is one, I just wanted Chris to give us a quick update on what he saw as far as what the town needs to do to get ahead of and stay in front of the MS4.
Mhm.
Even though it's being delayed a year, I don't think we necessarily want to waste that time and sit back on our
For our
laurels.
listening public, it's probably worth explaining what MS4 is too, just for those that may not speak acronyms.
So the MS4 is actually small municipal separate storm sewer systems. So basically drainage for all intents and purposes. So like Chase said and Keith said, they delayed the permit
It's
1
4
year.
S's.
Yes.
4 S's, yeah. So they delayed the
4 S's.
they delayed the permit 1 year. But what we have done, and I've talked with Keith about this, and we're gonna continue moving forward as if they haven't delayed the permit with the things that we have to do anyways. So we just signed a contract with Time Bond, renewed their contract for the next year of the permit. What we're gonna be doing is dry weather outfall mapping, so anywhere the pipe discharges into a brook, stream, culvert.
Just in context, our scope for this year was going to be about $100,000. We're doing $34,000
$34,000.
instead. So we're
So we've reduced the
ramped
cost
down
down.
the scope.
But we're gonna do a lot of, all, our stormwater, our drainage mapping in the town is not digitized, so we don't have really anything on the computer, so we're gonna concentrate a lot of this project on that. That has to get done whether or not we had this permit or not, so it makes sense for us to continue forward with that work. Part of this project is actually gonna be the annual report for the 2003 permit. We still, because we're under that one, so we still have to file another annual report. And we're gonna continue working on the stormwater prevention or pollution prevention plan. That's gonna have to be done whether or not the permit's enacted this year or next year. So we're really just trying to basically stay one step ahead of the permit. We know that theoretically, the permit is gonna become, at some point. The work we're trying to do now really should be done whether this permit ever was created or not. We wanna know where our infrastructure is, we wanna know if there's an issue ever, outfalling, contaminated discharges. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna continue moving forward with that. We're gonna hopefully get a couple interns in here in the spring, college kids, to go do a lot of this work. We can save a substantial amount of money hiring them ourselves rather than having Time Bond supply us with one, so. I don't know, did we talk about?
Yeah, I think one of the things we talked about is to emphasize to the rest of the board that we don't necessarily know as a town, as far as a GIS layer is concerned. It's not to say individuals don't know, but we don't have it mapped anywhere. Where are the outfalls, where are the catch basins, and it's part of the scope of the MS4 permit, and the more we can get incorporated now, the less we're gonna have to do in the future, and it gives us a little bit of, let's say, flexibility to get into the rhythm of it, such that if in the next year, maybe we don't get things mapped just the way we want, we're not out of compliance because the permit hasn't come into effect, so that when it does come into effect, we've worked out the kinks. One
That really
thing,
makes sense too, I mean, to have the, a map of your underground infrastructure the same way that you have a map of your above-ground infrastructure.
Absolutely.
right, unfortunately, the way these things got built out pretty much everywhere, no one really constructed.
Yeah, right now, we have no connectivity, so we have a catch basin we know is over here and a manhole way down here, but we don't know how they get to each other. We know the water from there goes there, we just don't know how.
Until one gets broken, that's when you.
Until one, and then really at this point, it's more of a, we just start digging until we figure out what's going on out there.
Chris also talked about utilizing, I guess, he showed me a tablet that they're using to,
If our catch basin cleaning.
yeah, for catch
So
basin.
what we're doing, part of this is part of the locating of our infrastructure, we have to locate all our catch basins. So what I've kind of come up with an idea of kill two birds with one stone, we have to clean our catch basins anyways, so why not train the crew to locate the catch basins at the same time they're cleaning them, so I don't have to go back to the same ones twice. So we come up with a big log, we have to track how much material we pull out of there anyways, so we'll all be on the computer, all be on the tablet. We're having Ty and Bond actually build the software for us right now. So it's kind of one of those two birds, one stone type deals. We're utilizing the staff as most efficiently as we possibly can. So.
And staff okay with that? I mean, that's. not bad,
We've been, I've talked to him. We have one person that primarily does the catch basin cleaning, and he's all for it. He does it longhand now, so he's like, anything he can do to streamline that for
Yeah.
himself will go a long way, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the summary as
Cool.
far as that.
Yeah.
All right.
It came up at FinCom last week, and
Right.
might as well address it since it's fresh.
All right, well, if you remember anything more, we have two more bites at the apple. You got member updates and goal updates. All right, public
Thanks,
input,
Chris.
thank
Thank
you,
you.
Chris. Public, let's see, all right, Michael, Mr. Public.
Yes, Michael's 11 Low End Street. I'd like to encourage and request the board, the selectmen, to do what they can to make, in the event that the three items associated with targeted senior housing comes early on the warrant. That's what my input is for example. They did a lot of work, and they're very interested, and I think that they would appreciate an early recognition of their work.
It makes sense.
Makes sense, although it's not the practice norm, but norms can be changed. I mean, there was a, kind of a way that warrants got ordered, financial articles first, zoning articles later, but I don't know that really matters anymore. Keith, do you have an opinion on that?
We had advanced those some of the housing articles for the annual town meeting this
Right,
year.
that's right.
So that was the first time we'd done that, and it was, mindful that if we could, but we still couldn't get to it early enough. In the evening, it was still 8 o'clock, but.
Yeah, that's right, we can make the effort, but that's no guarantee.
No,
that
no,
it's gonna happen.
it's just the effort, just the acknowledgement is very important.
Duly noted, and we'll be addressing the warrant in some fashion a little bit later. Chief, did you have something to?
Two things, actually. One, I talked to Mr. Bergman about today real quick. As you remember, we lost 2 patrolmen to the state. Mark Scola, though, last Tuesday, did send back a letter, that was his last day of works, rescinding his resignation, so, which is great. We didn't want to lose either of them, but it was great. He decided that our type of policing is more what he wants to do. So I'm working with HR and everything, trying to, because of course all the wheels were going one way, and I'm reversing the wheels.
Yeah.
And second is about the bull.
Yes.
Unfortunately, steps were taken last night that, in the end, it's a situation that nobody ever wants. We don't want to, put anything down, as far as an animal goes. But it had almost gotten struck a couple times the night before. It is a black bull. It's been running around. It was up in the neighborhood again. While it wasn't acting certainly that aggressively, it was heading back for the roadways again. And unfortunately, the decision was made at that point, because it was heading back for Great Road to put the bull down. Again, we've taken a little bit of heat today on it. People think the tranquilizers work quicker than they do. You tranquilize and if you tranquilize a 15 to 2,000 pound bull improperly, all it does is run around like a drunk, and which makes the situation even worse. And I'm not by no means making light of the situation. But
The owner was on hand too, is
the
that
owner,
right?
the owner was down there shortly thereafter. He certainly said he was not upset with us. He had some problems with the way a prior department could have handled it when it was far away from the wooded areas, was in the wooded areas away from any roadways. But again, I've heard from, and I did hear from a lot of the local ag people today saying you did exactly what you should have done. It's some people that just don't really understand sometimes what we have to deal with out in rural communities. And we're, as one of the ag people told us today, Littleton, is probably one of the biggest supporters of agricultural in the area. And certainly, the decision was made, I stand by the decision, however, it was an unfortunate situation.
Yes,
That
question.
was it. Sure.
When that bull first got away, where was it?
With the flame, we're also taking steps. I did discuss that with Mr. Bergman today, because we did have some neighbors contact Mr. Bergman to say, okay, this isn't the first animal we've had escape from down in Flame. What can we do to make that area more secure? Because what happened is while they put up fencing they put up this state-of-the-art fencing around half of the facility, then there's 4-foot-high fencing around the other half of the facility, but a non-working front gate. So basically, like any person or animal, you go the path of least resistance, which is out the front gate right towards 119. So to be specific, Jamie Cruz has committed, she's involved in Mass Farm Bureau, which owns the property. They do not own the facility. The facility is actually, which I never knew, is the Brighton, Farm Works. It actually was originally in Brighton and came out here in the 40s.
Stockyards, yeah.
So a little history lesson I got today. So we are going to work with the Farm Bureau and with the Flame to try and get an automatic gate put on the front there, and so this situation doesn't occur again. Because luckily this type of bull that escaped is a more docile bull than some of the other animals that are handled down there. So it wasn't so aggressive. To people, its biggest problem would be is it gets out on our main road or onto the railroad tracks or these other places. That was more of the fear with this bull. This type isn't that aggressive, but they certainly handle the aggressive type, animals down there. We've had the aggressive type animals.
And we had the Portuguese
They
rodeo.
were nasty bulls.
Those were mean bulls.
Yeah, but they were fighting bulls. So, again, we're working with Flame to try and prevent that. Jamie committed to work with me on that through Farm Bureau, so we are taking steps that way also to try and prevent these situations to deal with, because we're not, we don't ride on horseback, we don't carry lassos, and I wouldn't know how to do it if I did. We did have some cowboys offer to come up and try and get them for us, but that's it.
Our fence viewer, Ray O'Neill, sent me a text from the Cape. I told him he might be impeached because he was out of town when all this happened. Anyway, yeah, sad ending. No damage or no human damage, but kind of proud of the big fella for hanging out there for 5 days and humbling us all.
Made a big circle, just didn't want to get caught.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I also appreciate that you let us know as soon as possible with information.
I always try and let you know things so you don't get blindsided at Dunkin' Donuts.
Although I think Twitter had you by about 15 minutes.
Yeah,
I understand. You had more than 140
Well,
characters.
the Bull has his own, I guess the Bull has his own Twitter feed. I guess they knew it was gonna spread pretty quickly.
All right, thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay. Not any other public input, member inputs, Chase?
Public input member updates. Okay, so we're gonna do goal updates.
Yeah, we'll do goals after.
The one thing I wanted to do is recognize that somewhere around a couple of dozen town residents who went down to the 40,000 or so people strong counter protest in Boston over the weekend. I think it represents who we are as Littleton to see that number of residents go down there and speak out and make the point heard that it's not who we are as Littleton, it's not what Massachusetts is. And I was quite proud to see that in our representation.
And glad that what took place in Boston didn't result in any violence.
I think that the Boston Police Department is getting a lot of commendation for the way that they handled everything.
Joe?
I just want to bring up, we want to thank the Park and Rec again for Third Thursday. That was the last Third Thursday of the year. Once again, it was very successful, and it makes for a long day for business people like myself. And I want to point out something that happened at the very, very end of the Third Thursday. I was packing up the truck, and these two young ladies ran up to me and gave me a little rock that says Knox Rocks on it. And it's out in the truck. I wanted to show it, but it's out there. But it was Olivia and May from the Girl Scout Troop 66292, and it's part of the Kindness Rocks project. But I can tell you, at the end of that day, that made my day.
It rocked your world.
Cindy?
I can actually also add to what Joe just said. I was at the Veterans table for the final Third Thursday, and it's interesting with the veterans. A lot of them feel that people aren't that receptive to their table. They're a little hesitant to go to their table for whatever reason. So I had gone actually to visit the Knox tent, and I came back, and one of the veterans had a rock, and it had an American flag on it. So a little girl, I didn't get her name, from Girl Scout Troop 66292, had painted him an American flag rock and walked over and gave it to him. And I told the troop leader that really meant more to him than she could ever know. So that random act of kindness was really, really sweet and heartfelt. So that was nice to see. And the other thing I just wanted to mention, this sort of ties into the goals, but it doesn't, is the If They Had Known event that we had Wednesday night. I want to thank everybody who came out to see that film. It really was a great success, I felt, and touched a lot of people. So I'm really happy thankful for everyone who came out to support that. And I've been in touch with the Soper family, and they were really pleased. And she's been contacted by 4 communities who were at that event since then. Chelmsford, Tewksbury, Pepperell, and Lunenburg have all reached out to her, and they want to schedule that film to come to their community as well. So I'd also just like to thank the panel. We had some panel participants, Deputy Chief Patterson, Chief Wodzinski, Deputy Chief Clancy, Detective Corey, Denise Moniz, and Donna Kivlin also participated in that event as well. So thank you to everybody who came out and supported that.
Okay, the person who deserves the most thanks, though, is yourself for taking the lead on that, putting that together. And I was only able to be there at the beginning, but I was amazed on a Wednesday in the summertime, what a crowd.
Right.
showed up, and that was terrific. Both kids, high school kids or whatever, mostly aged, and parents, and all the feedback afterwards was just so positive. So thank you for taking the lead on that and all the work you put into it. The other kudos I'd like to send out, and this is an annual one, but would be remiss if we didn't mention, I was happy to attend last week, and I know Selectman Knox was there as well, with Senator Eldridge and Representative Arcero, hosted their annual cookout for the seniors, and I think they said it was the biggest turnout yet, and it was a great crowd, great town. Keith, Joe, and I were all there, and I think we all blended in the crowd pretty easily.
It's,
It was easy for me.
it's the truth, yeah.
I looked around and realized I don't feel too out of place right here, but it was a great afternoon.
Especially with Jamie and Jim are so
Yeah,
young.
right.
They're so young.
Exactly, yeah. Bobbing their little babies and nieces on okay, I did call it, yes, I did, okay. All right. Selectmen goal updates, okay, I will cover a couple of points here quickly. After the Finance Committee meeting last week, Chuck and I have been exchanging, Chairman DeCoste that is, and I have been exchanging emails with the Chair and Vice Chair of the Finance Committee, and I think we're settling on a date of the 6th of September for our first revisited meeting of the Financial Policies Subcommittee. So hopefully by our meeting on the 11th, we'll have a little bit of an update there. Master plan, I guess we've had a recent update on that by now. Mike has made his presentation to the Planning Board, the Finance Committee, the Selectmen, and I would say, having attended 2 of the 3 of those, it's been pretty general support for the initial wave of initiatives, including the requests for consulting resources, which we're going to have to flesh out. But that's moving, and everybody seems just as enthusiastic after the adoption of the plan as they were prior to. So let's keep that going. And much thanks to Mike and Anna Houston for doing that. And thirdly, I had a chance to, or I was invited to the AgCom meeting last week to follow up on some economic development requests I had made of them. We want to get some data to include our agricultural community on the Economic Development Committee's webpage. While I was there, I just took the opportunity to let them know that you and I would be sometime after Labor Day getting together with them. They have 2 appointed members as well for the farm properties working group, and they're ready to go on that. They also took a vote at the meeting, I let Keith know this too, that of the 2 conflicting proposals, they had one to allow, to ask to be allowed to appoint non-residents to their committee, which would allow them to get a couple of types of farm activity that aren't presently representative on the committee, because there just aren't any locals that are available that meet those categories, but or adopt the state enabling legislation for formalizes the Ag Commission. That's the option that they decide to go to, and they can't do one without the other because of state mandates that every member be a resident. So I see you've got that on the list of articles. They'll come in on the 11th.
There's a lot to talk about in that.
Yes, oh yeah, and well, I made it clear though, this was no commitment to be giving away the farm, as it were, in terms of negotiating, but it's, they're very much conscious, I guess, the key point here, not to get down in the weeds, is that adoption of that bylaw allows the selectmen to grant authority to the Ag Commission to manage farm properties, but it doesn't happen automatically, correct, Keith?
Depends on how we write the bylaw.
There you go. All right. Well, since you're the guy doing the writing,
We will be judicious.
We'll have a fulsome discussion on the 11th, I'm sure. They didn't seem to be pushing on that point. I think they'd like to have the opportunity, but aren't demanding anything. That's my takeaway.
The language of that statute could allow an agricultural commission to be in complete control of agricultural properties owned by the town, in the same way that the Conservation Commission has complete control of open space properties. If that's there's a lot of issues that come from that, including how do you do it, and how do you coordinate with other town entities. Board of Selectmen has been the lead dog on this, on agricultural property all along.
Right.
And we will have a lot, we have an outline.
It's a lot different, I would just offer
What
up from
to
the get-go,
discuss.
from conservation land, which once you take control of it, you just have to, not just have to, but your principal obligation is maintaining it.
Right.
Whereas this contract negotiations and dealing with,
Yeah.
you know, tenants or whatever, for tenant farmers or whatever it is, lessees, et cetera. But we'll have that conversation in September. And that was it. Any other goal updates? Chase, you?
So Joe and I, in addition to meeting with Chris, and I've got different goals that touch on things that Chris does, I think probably with each of you. But Chris and I met this morning just to sort of go over the big picture stuff. And to the extent that individual goals are with each of you guys, we'll get square on those. Joe and I have been kicking around with respect to our goal of improvements to town meeting. What improvements might we want to pursue for this coming town meeting? And more importantly, how are we going to build a body of information to decide what broader improvements may be necessary? And one of the things that Joe and I have looked at is, are there sort of uncontroversial things that we could do with the upcoming town meeting to make it smoother? And one of the things I think we've landed on is trying to implement a shot clock of sorts for comments. That seems, to us anyway, to be a fairly uncontroversial improvement to town meeting. But then we've also talked about distributing a survey at town meeting. First building that survey, me and Joe, Diane and Tim, sort of building a structure of that survey, then perhaps having a public input session on, you know, the nature of the answers sometimes depends on the type of question you ask. So we'd like to get public input on the survey itself, with potential ideas for improving town meeting and what would town residents like to see, and utilize town meeting as a means of distributing that survey and gathering some data on what type of improvements do residents want to see. Our idea is to build that first with Tim and Diane as a general structure, and then start to solicit public input. In other words, we have something for people to comment on, and then have that ready to go for fall town meeting, gather the data, and then look at that critically for spring town meeting. And we've had some scheduling, well, it's only been a week, but scheduling challenges.
One of the points I wanted to make too is that when contacting Diane and contacting Tim, they were so energetic. They have, Tim had, okay, I'm gonna write this down right now, and he had a lot of ideas I think he's gonna have, and Diane, they're both gonna call each other, and it was nice to see, you know, there was no reluctance at all. It was, yeah, let's get this changed, and let's see what we can change at this town meeting, and with the survey and whatnot, what we can change in the spring. So for the people who go to town meeting, yes, we are working on it. We all know that we've been up to the wee hours of the morning the last couple, and we try to prevent that, so.
But we also are cognizant of the fact that we could break it more than we fix it if we're not careful. So
Wise thought, yeah, good. You and I don't know what your schedule's like next week, Chase, but I know I'm mostly around if there's a chance we
yeah,
can.
next week we finally open up a little bit. So
Okay, good.
Fun time.
We'll figure out a time
Let's
where
figure out the rest of
we can do something. Terrific. Anything else, Chase?
Lastly, I mean, Chuck and I are starting to talk about our expectations and what it is we want to do as far as leadership on the selection of a new chief of police.
Mhm.
But that's very much in its infant stages,
Right.
so we're just kicking stuff around.
Okay. Selectman Knox, anything further?
No, just quickly, Cindy and I was there when we were just talking about the town meeting, getting those articles up front on senior type of housing. That's something that we all want to work on, and that's a very important issue, and the presentation is going to be extremely important. Because I know when it was done at the last town meeting, it was just a case people didn't understand what was trying to be done. So with a proper presentation at this time, I think people understand that what's being done, it can benefit a lot of people, a lot of seniors.
Right.
Have there been any modifications to the I mean, maybe we should hold that question until we actually get to it. topic 5, special town meeting. Just want to know how it had changed at all, the zoning amendments, or didn't change, maybe it is.
I don't know, but I'm sure Keith has the answers for all that when we
Right,
get to
yeah,
it.
they did, yeah.
Yeah.
I know there'll be further amendments, I know
Oh,
further
yeah,
changes,
yeah.
but
Right.
the planning board and the consultant are still working on
Cindy?
So I need to regroup with Chase on the opioid awareness campaign, and so hopefully you and I can get together in the next week or so. There is one thing in the interim that the people against substance abuse that I mentioned, at the last meeting, they're planning a candlelight vigil on August 31st, which is Overdose Awareness Day. So they're looking to put that together either at Fay Park or the Common. I suggested Fay Park only because then we don't have to deal with traffic issues and possibly a traffic officer. So I'm following up with them on that. They're also looking to set up a 1-800 number so people can get in touch with them and their organization, which I think is really great. It's two local women, which is wonderful. And as Joe said, we've been attending the planning board meetings with respect to the zoning bylaw amendment for the affordable housing, which is, I think they've made great strides in that, and I'm really looking forward to bringing that back before the town. I think it's going to help the seniors immensely, so I'm really excited about that. I had a wonderful meeting with Lisa Larrabee to discuss that and discuss what actually is affordable in Littleton, so that was really insightful and helpful to me to get that information from her. And the other thing was, and since Chuck is not here, the town facilities alumni field, maybe Anthony can speak more to that, but I know it's doing well, it's on track. Of course,
We'll have a better understanding on where it falls on Wednesday at the construction meeting. Things are going well, the progress that's being made. It was amazing in the week that I was gone. I went down there today. It's really moving along. The last few things sometimes take the longest, it's the electricity hookup, tying that all in. So I think that's the only thing that, concerned about the schedule for that, but I'll know better on Wednesday.
okay.
The facility study, we had a quick little brief update from the consultant. We're going back, discussing some options to what we'd like to see him move forward with, and we're hoping to have on
to
September
bring it up to
11th.
December. Yeah, on September 11th is going to be a very, very busy agenda.
Yeah.
Park and Rec will have their fields needs assessment study. We'll have the town office study update.
Yeah.
Will that be a
Having the
draft
library-
or final?
having the library back Tuesday night.
It probably will be a draft, so we can have some of his comments, and then we can go back to it. He'll do, he'll draft it whatever we want, so.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that it'd be good to get some input back from the board, and if any public's here to hear what some of the results are.
It won't be the final report.
Yeah,
By any
okay.
stretch.
I guess that's what
It'll be an update on the report. I'd be in favor of executive summaries, and bullets and punch lists and all
And
that, so.
just being at the Council on Aging luncheon last week, a lot of awareness and interest in that that process.
Yeah. They're waiting, they're waiting.
Yeah, revved up and ready to go.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
back. They're already back.
So
You're gonna
wonderful.
come in someday, they're just gonna move you right out of your office.
So that's all I had. The only other
You
thing
can't beat them, join them.
is the Veterans Corner. We did get in a cost estimate on that project that I did share with the board, and we're just waiting for an updated design. So that's coming along really well, and fundraising's going really well for that. So the goal is to have it unveiled November 2018, so hopefully we will stick to the progress we've made, and we'll be able to meet that goal.
Great. All right, Keith, the special town meeting warrant, first draft, first blush anyway. Probably, we've in one form or other addressed or spoken about virtually all of these items. But, and we will certainly talk about them again, so that's my way of saying,
Yes, I think that there are a couple of things to do tonight. One is the procedural vote of opening the warrant, setting the closing date. And the other is to go through, there's a list of articles. If there are some articles which I think you can safely insert tonight, they don't require further discussion. Unpaid bills, the omnibus, line item transfers, that kind of thing. The rescinding unused borrowing authority, the amending the personal exemptions.
Well, why don't we do that exercise, and why don't
Yeah.
we have the motion to open the meeting,
Yeah.
and then have you walk us through the.
Sure. Yeah, and there's a short list of those which we actually do need further input. We're not prepared to say which capital projects you're bringing forward tonight. Need Bonnie for that, and final recommendations.
Okay.
We need the AdCom to discuss their
Right.
bylaws, we've discussed.
All we really need to do on some of those items right now is reserve a spot for them on the
Right,
warrant.
right.
And they got, what do they have, to the 25th? Is that the last?
The 22nd of September is when the warrant closes.
And we are meeting, okay, we meet again on the 25th.
You meet once more, you meet on the 11th. Right now, you've only got one scheduled meeting on the 11th. I have to
Prior to
say,
the 22nd.
Try to the, sometimes when deadlines approach and you find you need more time,
Right.
we've on occasion had an additional meeting before the warrant closes to deal with any stuff that's late breaking news.
The September 11th meeting is already starting to look fairly
Oh, yeah.
fast.
It's fairly, yeah.
Don't make plans for after.
Okay, could I get a motion then on opening the meeting, and then we'll let Keith walk us through the warrant?
Move the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30, subsection 10, to call a special town meeting for Monday, October 30th, 2017, at 7 p.m. in the Charles Forbes K Gymnasium, Littleton Middle School, 55 Russell Street, with the warrant therefore to open forthwith and close on Friday, September 22nd, 2017 at noon.
Second?
We want these as two separate votes, Keith?
Yeah, two separate
Okay.
ones, yeah.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded then. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oh, yeah, we're gonna,
Yeah, then I'd suggest we just walk through
Yeah.
the warrant, and we'll keep track of those that it looks like you can insert. And and while I don't have numbers, just bullets, but what appears here is number one. Well, first, I get it, we'll move, when we
The
insert
ordering around,
the two zoning amendments and the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, we'll put at the beginning of the warrant in the next federation that you see
Fine.
here.
is everyone in favor of that?
Very much in favor.
So.
Well, actually,
yeah.
I would caution, I don't think it makes sense to put them first and second. Just in the event that there's a line to get in or something like that. Perhaps bills of prior years and a couple other small things to ensure that there's enough time to get everyone there, and then jump into those, say, 15 minutes or so into special town meeting, I think.
We could put some of the procedural.
Yeah, the first 3 or 4,
controversial.
yeah.
Yeah, that,
Does that make some?
Yeah, no, that makes some sense, yeah.
so, Article 1, bills of prior years, we don't know that we have any, but we always put it in the warrant in case we do. Budget amendments, this is in 2 steps. Step 1 is to put an omnibus article in the warrant. Step 2 would be a motion that Bonnie would propose for specific changes. You can safely put the article in, and then we will discuss in the coming weeks what the motion is, which amounts are going to be put in. Article 3 was Bonnie's proposal for use of the debt exclusion stabilization fund to apply to middle school debt. I think we can safely put that one on to make sure that we're reducing the levy. Article 4 is a placeholder for which I don't know that we necessarily need to put it at this town meeting. It's for putting additional money into the blended community preservation fund. We've tended to do that at the special town meeting in May. I think we can probably get away with that. this year. Right now, we've got we've got a little over $170,000.
We're not like
And there's no.
in
there's
jeopardy
no
of any
list of-
deadline that happens, they check the balance at
No,
December
no,
31st or
they-
anything like
They,
that.
they will check the balance next June 30.
Okay.
So I think we could safely skip Article 4 and bring that forward in the spring. I wrote it more as a note to myself that,
Right.
and to share with you that we've got just $170,000 to spend when the time comes. Supplemental fiscal 2018 capital items, we should vote on this at the next meeting, once we have a discussion about, because you would have to specifically name which projects you're going to put money aside for there. Bonnie's memo, which is in here again, had mentioned a few, but we haven't finalized which articles, and you ought to do that. Article 6 here, rescind unused borrowing authority, you can put that one in, because that's Steve's list of cleanup items when we go out to a permanent bond issue in March. We will want to rid our books of any.
And before anybody tries to spend that money, that's not money, that's borrowing authority.
It's borrowing
that never got
authority.
used.
Right, that's right. So we just want to take it off the books because it looks better that way. Article 7, to increase the personal exemption amount to 200%. This was something that was belatedly suggested after the warrant had closed for annual town meeting. We said that we can address it in the fall. And so it would be proposed to do that. It was one of the board's goals to look at making this adjustment. A number of communities, we have not had a 200% exemption amount. I think we had increased it from 20 to 50% in recent times, but we can go even further, and there are a number of communities that do, and that better.
Who's advocating this? The Assessors
That-
Council on Aging? Who?
It was Council on Aging and the assessors. I think it came up. It came up in a discussion. I think Chuck was involved and had asked about this back.
I
in-
actually had,
Yeah.
when I was campaigning, I had a conversation with Bonnie
Yeah.
about this, and then speaking with Pamela, we talked about it further, and then Pamela circled back and spoke with Bonnie about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is.
Are we proposing to add that? I just don't, I'm not familiar with it and would rather hold it until next meeting.
I'd like to get I'd like to get a presentation on
Sure.
it
Yeah, happy to do
Yeah,
that.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, we'll
absolutely.
have
before we
finance.
decide to put it on.
Yeah, we'll have finance do that, sure. Okay, so, all right. Next is transfer of ownership of the Cooper Farm parcels to the town. This follows a discussion that we started last week. Town council has drafted a zoning bylaw, zoning bylaw, a town meeting article which as it's written, the format that we have in the draft warrant, would preserve the host community agreement as it's written between the Selectmen and M&M Realty, specifically that parcel A, shown on the map here, would be for recreation, conservation, or agricultural, because the HCA says that. Parcels B and C would be agricultural. Parcel D would be conservation. And also we've added, and Selectman Glavery reminded us last week, don't forget about the housing part, that there is yet another parcel A that's described in the, where the farmhouse is. And so, in talking with council, he is of the understanding from M&M that they would prefer to hold on to the farmhouse for longer, might be 18 months or a couple of years or whatever.
They're using it as a sales.
They're
house,
using,
right?
yeah, they're
right.
using it, and frankly, it would take us at least 18
Sure.
months to figure out what we want to do with it. So my suggestion to Chris Heap was that, well, I want to go to town meeting once on an authorizing vote, but it would seem like we could close twice. We could close on the open space parcel, so-called, the A, B, C, and D. We could close on that this fall after town meeting vote, but could agree to close on the housing A at a agreeable later date. I just don't want to have two, I don't have to go to town meeting twice. I'd rather have one authorizing vote, and then, because the HCA says that the town gets all of those parcels, but it doesn't say when.
Right.
So if we could sort of agree, well, we'll take the housing one.
And I assume council's watching out for our risk in signing off on everything else and not having that piece resolved yet, or, I mean?
Well, because what we're doing, we're getting it, either way, it's a contract. The host community agreement says we get all 5 of those
Right.
parcels, and the performance of if the performance of the 5th parcel comes, at a later date,
Yeah.
that it's just as enforceable. But
And did we resolve the deed issues with respect to language? That we
Yeah,
discussed?
consistency, right.
Yeah, the consistency, particularly with respect to open space area A, there was some additional language in the deed that wasn't necessarily.
Proposed deed,
HCA.
yeah.
Right, in the proposed deed.
this town meeting article does not change the form of the host community agreement. So if the board, now the one issue that there was some discussion of at this table last week was if the sitting Board of Selectmen decided that you were okay with parcel A not being reserved for 3, but for instead going to 1 use, for example, if you said, or a majority, wanted to bring to town meeting that it'd be used, say, for recreation, that you could do that. You're the Board of Selectmen. And it was, just because a prior board had one agreement, the current board can, agree to something else. But my concern would be that if you go to town meeting with just 1, and there's any fuss about it at town meeting, then we might not get the article passed, or we have to, and it almost,
I agree with that, but I'm
Yeah.
not sure that's.
Yeah, I was referring to, there were 2 different discrepancies. One was associated with the 3 purposes, and the other was.
Some language.
Yeah, there was some
Yes,
language, like,
some-
for the
some
purpose.
essentially extraneous language
Yeah.
with
it was
respect to.
the Vista language.
Right, which
Yeah.
did not appear anywhere in the,
No, unless you agree otherwise, there's no Vista language.
has that been conveyed to M&M's attorneys or whatever that?
I'll make sure that
Yeah,
it
okay,
has,
good,
because
yeah.
Chris
Right,
was,
I mean,
Chris
it
was
should just
very
mirror
clear.
the
to
HCA.
me.
Yeah, I mean, those are nice sentiments, but we're not gonna capture them in a legal document, because that's already been
Right,
done.
right. So, yeah, the document, and there's nothing in this town meeting vote which would
Okay, so
adopt the Vista.
the actual vote,
business.
it doesn't reflect that one way or the other,
No.
right? It's not
No.
germane or,
So anyway, so that's where we are on, and the other thing, even if you reserve 3 potential uses for parcel A, if the desire is to use it for a recreation or ball field, then that would be done with a further vote of town meeting when you appropriate money to do the field. So town meeting would be able to weigh in and do that. This article only gets to the issue of what do you have the right to do with the property. So theoretically, if the field, the field's in use for a finite period of time, you could still use it for other things if the field didn't work out, so that's on that. Then we had we've had quite a bit of follow-up about the tax title properties. That we're encouraging both of the folks that we saw last week to meet with the Board of Health to make sure that they can do what they want to do. We've worked with town council. It's sort of a chicken and egg thing going on here, that if, while the abutters are fine with paying for the costs that are incurred, like doing an A&R plan, if that's $3,000 to $4,000 to do the plan, they prefer to do that plan after they have their vote of town meeting, knowing that they can get it. And we can do it that way, but we just have to have an approximate plan, say that Chris Stoddard could do,
right?
close enough for government work that the town meeting vote refers to. with that being subject to actually an A&R plan that's produced and paid for by the abutter at a
Before we
later
ever
date.
sign off
Before we
anything.
actually consummate the deal. So it's a little bit, but for the due diligence,
Is council okay with that approach?
yeah, they're fine. The only issue is that we
Chris
want
been
to,
approached about that? I'm just skeptical of just adding essentially random things to Chris's plate with respect to drawing up a plan for the acquisition of.
no, he's already been asked to do it.
Okay.
He's the guy. He's the guy with the AutoCAD system, so, yeah. Because the alternative for us would be to, like hire an engineer to do it, or something like that.
Anthony to do it, he's a quick study.
I'll do it.
So, then we've got the two zoning amendments, senior residential
I
development.
think there are actually 3 articles there, right?
Yeah, 3 articles, 2 zoning and 1 general bylaw. The
Okay.
third one is a general bylaw to establish the
Trust.
Affordable Housing
Trust.
Trust. And that's proposed to be done by a bylaw, which would then set up a board of trustees, so.
And this language was drafted by,
It was drafted by the consultant that I
Judy
see.
Barrett, right?
Yeah, by Judy Barrett. It needs some tweaking. We don't have a housing committee.
right.
Should we say housing authority? But,
Council have this yet?
council has all 3 and is in the process of reviewing, so.
So we can expect this to change by the time we see it again?
Yeah, and I think, definitely because the planning board, I think, is meeting between now and our next meeting. to review
September
it.
7th,
So,
I think.
yeah, they're meeting just prior to our
We're
next.
we're on a roll here, Keith, we're about to break records, so let's keep going.
Okay, so then we've got the agricultural
Anyone knows the
commission
difference, by the
bylaw.
way, Chuck's not here?
You should have seen when you and Chuck were both.
Walking it
Joe
out.
really,
So,
People happen, well, you were on vacation the whole summer. How does that happen? The guy gets on board 6 months ago, and he takes half the summer off.
so we'll have the AgCom bylaw here for discussion next time.
Yep.
There is acceptance of.
Have you heard from them, by the way? I told them to send you a memo.
No, but I heard from you. so
Okay,
that
all
was-
right.
That was,
I'm sitting there and like, there isn't a piece of paper on the table
Yeah.
anywhere, all the
because every-
farmers.
everyone-
I don't wanna make,
everyone-
instead, yeah, right, I mean, Pickett's running the meeting on his, his, whatever it was he had, little notepad.
His pocket pal. or whatever
Pocket,
it
yeah,
is.
but, without seeing paper, you wonder whether everybody's doing anything, listening or whatever.
So, just a couple of more articles on this list. One is to accept the state statutes that would allow for the selectmen to adopt a reduced speed limit pursuant to the authorization of the Municipal Modernization Act.
I was unaware that change happened, and I'll tell you, I don't know, maybe it hasn't come up in
Yeah.
your tenure, but years ago, I used to, great frustration, would request the state to change a, speed limit on Foster Street or whatever, and then you'd come
Yeah.
back, sorry.
Yeah,
Tough luck.
The default is it 30 miles an hour? I forget which, but there's a default standard of what local roads could be under the old law.
Yeah,
And in order to get it changed, the state would only allow you to do it if you did a speed survey. And the problem was that if people were speeding on your street, the
That
survey
becomes-
would,
that becomes the
survey
norm,
would come
that they-
back higher. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
you
we-
had to stay within 80% or something or other of what the.
I met with so many,
tracked,
I've met with so many neighborhood groups over my career of, okay, careful what you ask for, because you want the speed limit lower.
It could get
I gotta-
raised.
I got to do a state survey, and if it comes back higher, it's higher, so
Yep.
don't ask. The law's been changed that now says the Board of Selectmen can lower, without anyone's permission, you can lower the speed limit on any town way to 25 miles an hour. You ought to do that in some kind of, first you need to get the authority to do it with a town
Right,
meeting
right,
vote,
right.
and then we'll do it methodically. But it also allows the state to then grant a further reduction to 20 miles an hour if you can make the case under their new guidelines. And the only other one I've got on my list is a roadway acceptance for McIntosh Lane. The planning board is nearing the end of that process. We would need to have a public hearing to lay out.
Is that the
Okay.
Sanderson property?
That's off of Gristmill, right?
Oh, really?
It's the one that's way out back.
Okay, just
Yeah.
not familiar with it by name, yeah.
So of these, I think you could insert bills of prior years, budget amendments, use of the debt exclusion stabilization funds, the rescind unused borrowing authority, and let's see. I think the rest we need to.
Are those last two ready? to-
Yeah, the last,
we
yeah,
could
you
do
can put,
14 and 15.
you can put 14 to 15, yeah. So
Has
you
the
could
planning
do,
board already finalized on McIntosh Lane?
they
It
are,
says that they have.
yeah, they are about to, and they'll be shipping us the plan, and we'll be scheduling a hearing in the next month.
So I guess if they haven't, we should hold off on 15?
You can put,
Yeah.
I think you can put it on tonight.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, we know who to blame if it
Yeah.
screws up. That's all right.
You can always take it off if I'm wrong, so.
Someone want to make that motion? Do you have that list of warrant article numbers as listed?
Yeah, it'll, yeah, in fact, it's bills of prior years,
Which is?
number one.
One.
So 1, 2, 3,
6,
6,
14 and 15.
and 14 and 15.
Okay, by this current iteration.
By the
yeah,
current
yeah.
numbering,
Okay.
yeah.
Someone want to take a stab at that motion?
Let's see, move the Board of Selectmen vote to insert the following articles onto the warrant for October 3rd, 2017 special town meeting, subject to the approval to the form by town council, and it would be bills of prior years, which is number 1 on this one, budget, fiscal year 2018 budget amendments, which was number 2, 3 on this list, use of debt exclusion stabilization fund for the middle school debt, 6 in this one, rescinding unused borrowing authority, 14, currently accept state statutes for reduced speed limits, Mass General Law 90, subsection 17C and 18B, and last, accept layout of McIntosh Lane.
Second?
Okay, motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. All right, Keith, moving on to your last few items.
Next, the town meeting voted to authorize the acquisition of parcel at the southern portion of Mill Pond. This was a donation. We have the paperwork that's now been presented by town council. Just to make note that the donor's wish is that if the dredging project is not completed within 10 years, that she wants the fee simple to revert to the prior owner or heirs, and that is happy to donate it for the dredging project. If we don't do the dredging, they'd like it back. So, and we will certainly know within that time frame whether we're doing a project or not, so. But it allows, by having the ownership of it, it allows the Army Corps of Engineers to plan for including that parcel in the work, so.
Do we take on any liability by taking ownership of sediment that is potentially impacted and contaminated?
I think we kind of accept that, yeah.
Yeah, we've done it for, in that same lake, underneath that lake, it has to be 4 or 5 parcels that people own right to the middle of what used to be a stream.
Okay.
And we have taken those already, and this is one that we hadn't taken in the past.
Yeah.
And the Army Corps of Engineers has always said, we're not gonna be able to work on this until
Until the
we
time.
control the
Right.
pond.
The town
So
has to
even though we
actually
are
own.
potentially taking liability
Yeah.
for it.
If it's any consolation, as Joe said, we've done it before.
And if it reverts to the prior owner if we don't do the project.
That's true. If we
So.
find it's, then we can give it back to them in 10 years.
There are any
No
number,
problem.
there are any number of reasons why we might not proceed with the project, so. I think there's no risk, yeah, there's no risk in, I think, in accepting this one and this one.
Yeah. I can, actually.
And there's a there's a revised motion. Town council actually did some cleanup in the,
All right, so
for
you're
the
looking
motion
for
that was
the-
in the packet, so it's
yeah.
the single sheet that was waiting for you
A nice
tonight,
long
which
one.
is.
I don't think you've read any motions yet tonight, have you, Chase? Oh, there you go. You've saved
So
up the lunch.
I've got the supplemental one.
Right.
So I move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Article 20 of the May 1st, 2017 Annual Town Meeting relative to donated property located south of Harwood Avenue and underlying the southerly portion of a body of water known as Mill Pond, and as shown on the assessor's map is parcel ID U39-4-14 as follows. 1, to take said property by eminent domain, including for the purposes of completing the necessary restoration of Mill Pond under the authority of MGL Chapter 79, with an accompanying award to the owner, Mary Lee Stenstrom, of $0. The accompanying order of taking and the waiver of appraisal, damages, and relocation benefits as to eminent domain taking will be recorded by town council, and a notice of taking will be delivered to the owners within 30 days as required by MGL Chapter 79, Section 3. Execution of said order of taking, the waiver of appraisals, damages, and relocation benefits as to eminent domain taking and notice of taking shall be subject to town council's final review of titled documents.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Community Compact Cabinet Program, Keith.
This is for informational purposes, because there's a lot to think about here, and it's a great opportunity, but I think it's worth highlighting. 2 years ago, the town signed a community compact with the Baker Polito administration. We're one of the first communities to do it. We were the first regional group of,
As noted in yellow on the map. There aren't many of us, right?
Right, right. And so the program is open to us again. It was not open last year. For those who had a fiscal 16 community compact, you weren't allowed to do another one in 17, but we are for fiscal 18. We had, it's a great way of getting your needs on the state's radar screen. Our best example of that is Crosstown Connect, where we didn't get any particular great state grant funding that came to the town. We got no state grant funding that went to the town directly. However, the things that we wanted were improved service, we wanted a better schedule on the Fitchburg line, we wanted state assistance in working with us on any number of things. We advocated for additional parking at the commuter rail station, just any number of things to get our needs for our 5-town group on the state's radar screen, and it's been very successful. I think that we could probably do that in some fashion for the Littleton Common Sewer Project. That might be the one that I think is the highest priority. But there's a long list of other potential best practices that we could follow, and I think we ought to take the time to figure out which ones of those we want to apply for. It was easier 2 years ago. We went for transportation, public safety, and economic development. We had some modest projects in the last 2 categories. They're getting more specific about what you can ask for, and I think that it really requires us to have a thoughtful approach. But if you look at it through the lens of what the goals are that we're working on, and then see opportunities to achieve particular goals through getting state help, we really ought to take some time to think about. There's no rush.
I wonder what the process is on this, because I think that approach is exactly what I would think.
Yeah.
We already identified our goals. If they've already identified what they accept, let's see where it matches and
Yeah.
where the biggest bucks potentially.
Yeah, and so I think so I wanted to just get that in front of you
Yeah.
and be able to get it on everyone's radar screen. It's not time sensitive, so for example,
It's a rolling
if
program,
if we're just overloaded on the 11th of September, we can take this up on September 25th, just because it's not time sensitive. The money doesn't. There are not going to be that many communities that jump in line ahead of us, but it's a proven program for us to be able to have our needs be recognized by the state administration.
And do I understand right that that's what we're really seeking, is the ability to voice the needs, the financial aspect of it is nice, but it's not particularly,
Well, I think we ought to take,
Substantial?
we ought to, the financial aspect is not, has not been substantial. There not been, it's not tens of thousands of dollars that you get. You might get $10,000, you might, so it's more modest. But in the case of but we have continually pointed to our projects, especially Crosstown Connect, that are on are in our community compact, when we engage with the agencies.
It
We're
helps
saying,
the
hey,
cause
this is
when you're
my,
going for other
right.
projects,
So I
yeah.
think that's a good way for us to put the glow on especially the Littleton Common Sewer Project, as we endeavor to go from state agency to state agency, looking for them to help us out. And we've identified the MassWorks funding program a year from now as something that we want to pursue. That could be millions of dollars. I think it would really help us to be able to say that that project, for example, is on here. But there are other things, some of I think that we could find a way for the performance measurement project that Mr. Glavy had mentioned at one point. There are a number of different things that you can pick from, but we can only pick two. It's
Right.
like, it's like a Panera Bread.
Yep.
That you pick two, and we ought to be mindful of which two we pick and take the time to think about it.
How do you want to present this next, Keith? Do you want board and you going to reach out to, you going to make a suggestions or a list of suggestions?
Yeah,
circulate
we're
this?
going to, we just got it in the last few days, and
Bring it up
really
to
haven't had time to
weekly staff
digest.
meeting or something?
Yeah, we'll review it at I've got a monthly staff meeting on September, day after Labor Day, so that would be a next up. I'm hoping to take next week. There's another vacation week on Nantucket, so my schedule is clear.
Are you around, Anthony?
He's back, yeah, only one of us can be on an island at once. He was on Ireland last week.
Sort of like Secretary Madison Tillotson, right? They have
Yeah.
three not
That's
holding
all
the
right.
country at the same time.
Not quite the same thing.
Okay. What you also included at the back here, you would see, all this is, it's a download off the state website, but all the, I assume these are prior awards for best practices, right? Is that what they are?
No, those are the categories.
Those- okay.
Those are the categories.
All right, so if you
to choose
go
from.
this is essentially the menu we have
That's
to
the menu,
choose from.
that's the
All right.
finite menu, and
All
it's
right.
substantial.
Okay, I guess
yeah.
I misread that. I was hoping that you could go to these things and find,
Well, there is a link at that state website which has reports from various communities, including our own, on what did you do with your project.
that's why, 'cause I look at some of the stuff, it's like, boy, I'd love to know what town got the award for X, Y, or Z, and, then take a look at what what they got
Yeah.
an award for.
So I just, owing to how busy our agenda is on September 11th, and it's
Yeah.
going to be a late night, I think this one
Yeah, put
we'd
that
be
off.
able to more thoughtfully consider this on the 25th of September, so that's what I suggest that we do.
Anyone else have any input on that item, or we're all looking forward to being creative about this? Revisiting it at the end of September?
Okay.
Yeah, I think that makes good
Sense.
sense, a little more time to digest the
Yeah.
potential best practices.
All right.
All
Keith,
right,
Mart,
and
Crosstown?
next one is MART, and this is really in the category of, okay, the state held up its end, and they spent millions of dollars, and they've had great, they did exactly what we asked them to do, which is enhance the Fitchburg line and to give us earlier and more frequent service. And so our end of that bargain is really to then cover the last mile, first mile, last mile. And this is something we've been working on for a while, and I think that we've got the framework of something that we can pursue, and specifically that the Crosstown Connect TMA has been awarded a state grant of one time, for which they can cover half of the cost of our projected cost of a first-year pilot program for a shuttle service that would go from the Littleton commuter rail station to Littleton Common and then to Westford, and pick up along the way two of our largest corporate members of Crosstown Connect, IBM and Juniper. And part of our pitch has been, you want to be at the table. We've been encouraging corporations, and we're going to encourage more to become part of Crosstown Connect, so that you're at the table when we're making decisions about what transportation services. This one, I want to call your attention to the screen. I'm sorry I didn't put this in your packet, but in trying to explain it to myself over the weekend, I thought I better try this. This is the schedule for the Fitchburg line, coming both ways, inbound and outbound, from North Station to Littleton and from Fitchburg. Here's the commonality. Here's Littleton Station. So between 7 and 9 a.m., those are the you've got a few trains that are coming from Boston that are stopping here, and you've got several more trains that are coming from Fitchburg stopping here. So what we're looking at is to have a shuttle meet one or two times that we can sort of capture, maybe just looking at that, maybe at 7:40-ish. You've got, you would have a train that's coming from Boston, but also a train a couple of minutes later that's coming from Fitchburg. So we could send one shuttle and pick up the commuters are coming to Littleton from both directions. Maybe we can do two of those. We've got to just work with Mart on specifically, how much time does it take us to do the whole run. We might be able to do an 8:40 run, meet the 8:40 in one direction and 8:35 in the other.
Yeah.
So we're looking at that. And then at the end of the day, same thing. Here's the Littleton schedule coming in both directions, and then here's potential trains that we could meet between 5 and 7 window. Our proposal for keeping costs down would be to use one of our 3 COA vans outside of the hours that they're being used for other purposes. We're allowed to do that. It helps keep the costs low. The projection for just one run per day, that if Mart was using its own equipment based in Fitchburg, is like $100,000. So the fact that the head is not going all the way back to Fitchburg saves a huge amount of time. Procedurally, what Mart needs to do is that first they need to get a request from the local Board of Selectmen. Then the request goes to the Montechusett Regional Transit Authority Advisory Board for policy vote to go ahead and provide the service. Then the way that they would provide the service is by issuing a request for proposals to anyone who could provide the service. Mart doesn't provide service. They contract out all the buses and all the bus service that they have. So we're assuming that the lowest cost might be Crosstown Connect providing the service. And so we put together the proposal that you see here. But if Mart puts it out and someone can do it for cheaper, then that's fine by all of us, because it would mean that there's actually a lower cost alternative. But we wanted to at least put together the outline of what, if Crosstown Connect was the entity that's providing the service, how would we do that? And it would be through a combination of money that would come from a cherry sheet assessment that would be paid for Littleton. That's how we get paid, because we're part of Mart. Westford is desperate to be to get a value added for its participation in Crosstown Connect. They are lining up corporate donations.
I was just going to say, if
got-
our little cost here
Yeah.
is no more than like $9,000 a year, is there any reason we couldn't be putting advertising space on the buses and say?
Oh, all sorts of things we could
Yeah,
do,
and
sure
we
we could,
make that
to
all-
reduce the
make it all
cost.
go away,
Oh,
right?
absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
We would absolutely have the ability to do that. What the most important thing about this is actually getting the show on the road, and it's a sign that we, especially if we want to get more from the administration for our next big thing of the sewer project, or whatever it is that we want to go for in the compact. Now's the time finally for us to put something forward, and even if the cost ends up being $9,000, which is what projected, that's a rounding error for when we do our cherry sheet assessments. So it shows a great deal of support that we have from Crosstown Connect as a group, the 5 towns together, for helping to underwrite the cost of a Littleton shuttle, because we don't have one yet.
Boy, I bet you as soon as we start offering it, companies are gonna come out of the woodwork that are gonna wanna do it. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
Especially
and-
if you're doing 2 runs in the morning and 2 in the afternoon.
Right,
And you can
and,
catch them from both directions.
and we would want to be, this is meant to be the first thing that we do,
Right.
not the last thing.
Right.
That we are, for the future, we'd love to be able to expand to more fixed route service, going more places that Littleton people want to go.
Yep.
But it's just getting started. That's the most important thing for us to do, and I'm very grateful that we have the support from our fellow cross-town Connect communities to have the grant funds go towards this project to help reduce the cost.
You mentioned that, Paul, I don't know who pays for it, but Red Hat is a private bus company that takes people from Alewife to Red Hat
Wow.
in the morning and back to Alewife in the afternoon.
They're currently, Juniper Juniper uses its own corporate funds to provide that sort of service for its folks to take them to Alewife. Juniper is one of the ones that has indicated their preference to be having
why not?
funds go towards this. We're working, there are a lot of moving parts with this whole thing, including the fact that in order to get any users going to commuter rail, the monthly pass for commuter rail is, 3 times more expensive than it is for just a subway pass. We read and we got some information that the MBTA Fiscal Advisory Board just last week approved a pilot project for Foxborough to look at weekday commuter rail service there. And in that context, they're looking at maybe there needs to be a different lower cost for off-peak commuter rail travel, which if so, we've been pitching for that a lot, if especially for the cost of someone coming from the city to here to get to work or to go home at the end of the day. They're doing a reverse commute. And that reverse commute, if that could be at a lower cost, then would be a great way to increase the ridership. So there's a lot of moving parts here, and it would be, and the chair is right that we would have the ability to reduce what our costs are through advertising and other things, but our exposure is $9,000 in order to just get it started. That would be the additional cherry sheet assessment. That's our projection.
Any other questions or comments from board members? Otherwise, I see Keith's looking for a motion here, so we can get rolling on it.
I'll read it. You ready?
Okay, yep.
Yep. Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to request that the Montechusett Regional Transit Authority pursue plans for a fixed route shuttle to serve the Littleton MBTA commuter rail station to operate on a pilot basis as proposed by the Crosstown Connect Transportation Management Association.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Great, thank you so much.
Good. Minutes, I did read them over, and Diane, she leaves me speechless.
She didn't put any words in your mouth there?
No, she did.
Oh,
That's
she
why I
did,
was
okay,
speechless.
so you have nothing more to add. That's great.
Yes.
We all set with it?
I'm all set with it, yeah.
Okay, I move the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the minutes of August 14th, 2017.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Look for a further motion.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. There we go.
Look at that, Mr. Glenn.
Oh,